There's one document many American seniors have somewhere in the house, maybe in a folder with tax papers, maybe with birth certificates or old family records. And if you never bring that document into the Social Security conversation, your monthly check might be calculated from the wrong record for the rest of your retirement. Your Social Security check may arrive on time every month. It may look final. But for some seniors, that check isn't the highest amount they're entitled to, because Social Security doesn't only pay based on your own work record. In certain cases, it can also look at a spouse's record, an ex-spouse's record, or a deceased spouse's record. That's where one simple document changes everything. The document is a marriage certificate. Now, don't turn this off just because you heard marriage certificate. The document is only the beginning. The real issue is what Social Security is supposed to check once that document proves the relationship. If you ask the wrong question, you can have the right document and still walk away with the wrong answer. And if you're divorced, there's a second document that may matter just as much: your final divorce decree. That old court paper may be the difference between Social Security treating a past marriage as irrelevant or checking whether it still matters under benefit rules. Let me be clear about what this is and isn't. This is not a guaranteed 50% raise for every senior. It's not a secret bonus. It's not a loophole. It's not a trick where you collect 2 full checks at the same time. Here's the real rule in plain English. A spouse's Social Security benefit can be worth up to 50% of the worker's full retirement age benefit. If your own check is small and your spouse's or former spouse's record is stronger, Social Security may need to compare your benefit against that other record. For the right senior, that comparison can mean a bigger monthly check. Sometimes it's a few dollars, sometimes it's a few $100s, and sometimes it changes the entire monthly budget. But here's what catches people. Social Security may not ask, did you have a marriage that lasted 10 years? They may not know your ex-spouse's record could matter unless you bring the right information. They may not automatically explain the difference between your own retirement benefit, a spouse benefit, a divorced spouse benefit, and a survivor benefit in a way that makes sense. The money doesn't get missed because the senior did something wrong. It gets missed because nobody asked the right question and nobody had the right document ready. A marriage certificate isn't just an old family paper. For Social Security, it's proof that another record should be checked. A divorce decree isn't just a painful court document. It can prove when the marriage started, when it ended, and whether it lasted long enough to matter under Social Security rules. So today, I'm going to walk you through this carefully. I'll show you why the marriage certificate matters. I'll show you how the 50% number really works, because most people explain it wrong. I'll show you why divorced seniors miss this more than almost anyone. I'll show you the second document that opens the door for someone married 10 years or more, and near the end, I'll give you the exact sentence to use when you contact Social Security. Because asking, can I get more money, is too vague. The better question is much more specific. And if you ask it the right way, Social Security has to look at the right issue. Think about how many seniors never ask. A woman worked part-time for years while raising children. Her husband earned more. She files for Social Security on her own record and accepts the smaller check. A divorced man was married for 22 years, but the divorce happened so long ago he never mentions it. A widow keeps receiving her own retirement check and never asks whether a survivor record should be reviewed. That assumption can be expensive because your own record is only one option. There may be another lane, a spouse lane, a divorced spouse lane, a survivor lane, and the document sitting in your house may be what proves Social Security should look at that lane. So before you say, this probably doesn't apply to me, stop. Don't disqualify yourself. Don't assume you earned too much. Don't assume divorce ended everything. Don't assume Social Security already checked every possible record. Let the record be reviewed. Let the math decide. Your job is to know what to ask and what document to bring. A lot of seniors think, I already know I was married. Why would that matter now? It matters because Social Security doesn't pay benefits based on memories. It pays based on records, proof, dates, and eligibility rules. Your own Social Security benefit is based on your own work history. That's the check most people think about first. You worked, payroll taxes came out, and Social Security calculated your retirement benefit from your own record. But that's not the only possible record. If you're married, divorced, or widowed, another person's record may matter too. That doesn't mean you automatically get more. It means the other record may need to be checked. And the marriage certificate is what proves the relationship exists. Now here's where the video becomes important. Just showing a marriage certificate isn't enough. You need to understand what Social Security is comparing, because this is where the 50% number gets misunderstood. A spouse benefit can be up to 50% of the worker's full retirement age benefit, but it's not a second full check added on top of your own. Let's use plain numbers. Suppose a senior receives $900 a month from her own work record. Her husband has already filed for Social Security, and his full retirement age benefit is $2,600. Half of that is $1,300. If she qualifies for a spouse benefit, Social Security doesn't give her $900 plus $1,300. That's not how it works. But it may bring her up from $900 to around $1,300. That difference is about $400 a month. That's groceries. That's medicine. That's the electric bill. That's the difference between always being squeezed and having breathing room. And the tragic part? Another senior in the same situation may never get that review simply because she never asks Social Security to compare the spouse record. Same house, same paperwork, same rules, different result, because one person asked the right question and the other accepted the first number. If you're finding this helpful, hit that subscribe button now, because this is exactly the kind of Social Security rule people miss, and we break down a new one every week. One more thing matters here, especially for currently married couples. The spouse benefit comparison usually becomes available only after the higher earning spouse has filed for their own Social Security retirement or disability benefit. So if your spouse hasn't started collecting yet, that doesn't mean you'll never qualify. It may simply mean the timing hasn't opened that door yet. Ask Social Security when the spouse record can be checked. Ask what happens once the higher earning spouse files. Don't hear not yet and turn it into never. If you're thinking, this only matters to married seniors, don't leave yet. The divorce section may be even more important, because divorced seniors are often the ones who never ask. They assume the marriage is over, so the record is over. They assume an ex-spouse's Social Security has nothing to do with them. They assume asking will cause trouble. They assume their ex has to approve it. They assume their ex's new spouse will lose money. Most of those assumptions are wrong, and wrong assumptions are expensive. Social Security has rules for divorced spouse benefits. If a marriage lasted at least 10 years and certain other rules are met, an ex-spouse may be able to receive benefits on a former spouse's record. This is not asking your ex for money. This is not a private divorce settlement. This is not going back to court. This is a Social Security benefit rule. And this is where the second document comes in, your final divorce decree. If you were ever divorced, don't skip this part. Even if the divorce happened 20 years ago, even if you haven't spoken to that person in years, even if you remarried later, even if you feel uncomfortable talking about it. The Social Security question isn't emotional. It's based on dates, records, and eligibility. Your final divorce decree can prove when the marriage ended. Your marriage certificate can prove when it started. Those two dates can show whether the marriage lasted at least 10 years, and that 10-year line matters. Let me show you how many people miss this. A woman was married for 13 years. She divorced in her 40s and worked low-wage jobs for years after. At 66, she files for Social Security only on her own record. No one asks enough about the old marriage. She doesn't bring it up because she thinks it doesn't matter. Her check arrives, she accepts it, years pass. Then one day she hears that divorced spouse benefits may exist, and she realizes the old marriage may have been long enough. That's the kind of moment this video is trying to prevent, because the best time to ask is before you accept the number as final. Now let's clear up two false beliefs that keep divorced seniors quiet. False belief number one, my ex has to give permission. In most divorced spouse situations, the ex-spouse doesn't need to approve your claim. You're asking Social Security to check whether you qualify under its rules. False belief number two, my ex will lose part of their check if I ask. Generally, a divorced spouse benefit doesn't reduce the benefit your ex receives. It also doesn't reduce the benefit their current spouse receives. That misunderstanding alone keeps many seniors from asking. Here's the timing rule divorced seniors need to know. For a currently married spouse, the higher earning spouse usually needs to have filed before the spouse benefit can begin. For a divorced spouse, the rules can be different. If your former spouse has already filed, that may open the door. But even if your former spouse hasn't filed yet, you may still be able to claim on that record. If the former spouse is eligible, the divorce has been final for at least 2 continuous years and other requirements are met. You don't need to memorize that phrase. You just need to know what to ask. If my ex-spouse hasn't filed yet, does the 2-year divorced spouse rule apply to me? That question stops you from accepting a weak answer. Because for some divorced seniors, the answer isn't, your ex hasn't filed, so never. The answer may be, your ex hasn't filed, but you may still have a path if the divorce has been final long enough. If your spouse has passed away, listen closely to this part. The 50% number may not even be the most important number in your story. Spouse benefits and survivor benefits are different. A spouse benefit while the worker is alive can be up to 50% of the worker's full retirement age benefit, but survivor benefits can be higher. Depending on age and other rules, a surviving spouse may be able to receive up to 100% of the deceased worker's benefit amount at survivor full retirement age. That's why widows and widowers shouldn't only ask about retirement benefits. They should ask about survivor benefits. They should also ask whether switching now or later makes a difference. This isn't something to handle casually. The timing matters. Your age matters. Your own retirement benefit matters. The deceased spouse's benefit matters. If you ask the wrong question, you may get an answer that's technically true, but not complete. If you ask, can I get my own Social Security? The answer may be yes, but that doesn't tell you whether a survivor benefit would be higher. That's why the exact question later in this video matters. Don't leave before that. Let me walk through the mistakes that keep seniors from even reaching the right calculation. Mistake 1, only checking your own My Social Security estimate. Your My Social Security account can show your own record and estimates, but it may not tell the full story if you're married, divorced, or widowed. You may need a spouse comparison, divorced spouse review, or survivor benefit review. Don't treat one number on the screen as the entire answer. Mistake 2, assuming work history disqualifies you. Many seniors say, I worked, so I only get my own check. Working doesn't automatically block a spouse benefit. The question is whether your own benefit is lower than what you may be eligible for on the other record. Mistake 3, missing the married couple filing rule. A currently married spouse usually can't start receiving a spouse benefit while the worker is alive until that worker has filed. The lower earner may call too early, hear nothing can be paid yet, and assume the issue is dead forever. But not yet isn't the same as never. Mistake 4, assuming divorce ended everything. Divorce may end a marriage legally, but Social Security has its own rules. A marriage that lasted at least 10 years may still matter if other requirements are met. Mistake 5, not knowing the difference between spouse benefits and survivor benefits. These are different conversations with different rules, different percentages, and different timing. Mistake 6, asking too vague a question. If you ask, can I get more money? That's vague. If you ask, is my check correct? That may not force the full comparison. The stronger question is this. Can you check whether I qualify for a spouse benefit, divorced spouse benefit, or survivor benefit on another Social Security record? Write that down. Don't soften it. Don't make it vague. That question tells Social Security exactly what you want checked. Before you call Social Security, here's your checklist. Number 1, find your marriage certificate. If you're married now or were married before, this is the first document to look for. If you don't have a copy, you may be able to request one from the Vital Records Office in the state or county where the marriage took place. Number 2, if you're divorced, find your final divorce decree. Check the marriage date and divorce date. If the marriage lasted close to 10 years or more, don't ignore it. You may be able to request a certified copy from the court where the divorce was finalized. Number 3, if your spouse or former spouse passed away, gather the death information. A survivor benefit review is different from a spouse benefit review. Number 4, write down every marriage clearly. Don't rely on memory during the call. Include full name, date of birth if known, Social Security number if known, date married, place married, date divorced, or date of death. Number 5, ask Social Security the question clearly. Here's the sentence again. Can you check whether I qualify for a spouse benefit, divorced spouse benefit, or survivor benefit on another Social Security record? Number 6, if you're currently married and asking about a spouse benefit, ask whether your spouse must already be receiving their own benefit before your spouse benefit comparison can begin. Number 7, if you're divorced and your former spouse hasn't filed yet, ask whether the 2-year independently entitled divorced spouse rule applies. Don't assume you're blocked just because your ex hasn't filed. Number 8, if the answer is no, ask why. Don't argue, just ask for the reason. Was your own benefit already higher? Was the marriage too short? Are you currently married? Is a document missing? Has the higher earning spouse not filed yet? A simple no isn't enough. You need to understand the reason. Number 9, before making a claiming decision, ask how timing affects the amount. Ask what happens if you claim now. Ask what happens if you wait. Don't make a permanent decision from a guess. Anytime people hear increase your Social Security check, scammers show up. Don't give your Social Security number, bank account, Medicare number, or personal documents to someone who calls you out of nowhere. Don't pay someone who says they can unlock a secret Social Security benefit for a fee. Don't trust a caller who threatens you or says your benefit will stop unless you give information immediately. A real benefit review happens through official Social Security channels. You contact Social Security, you use the official website, you call the official number, you visit a local office, you control the conversation. Let me bring this back to the core rule one final time. Can one document increase an American senior's Social Security check by 50%? Here's the accurate way to say it. One document can open the door to a Social Security calculation that may bring a smaller check up to a spouse or divorced spouse amount. That spouse amount can be up to 50% of the worker's full retirement age benefit. It's not a guarantee. It's not a secret bonus. It's not a loophole. It's a real Social Security rule that many people never ask about. And if your spouse has passed away, the survivor conversation may be even bigger than the 50% number. At survivor full retirement age, you may be eligible for up to 100% of what the deceased worker was receiving or entitled to receive. That's why you don't stop at assumptions. You check the record. You ask the exact question. You bring the documents. You make Social Security compare the right options. The senior who checks may find out there's nothing more available. Fine. At least they know. But the senior who never checks may spend years living on a smaller check simply because they assumed Social Security had already looked at everything. That assumption is too expensive. Before another month passes, before another check lands, before you say, this is just what I get, find the document, find the marriage certificate, find the divorce decree if it applies, write down the dates, and ask Social Security the right question. That one question can change the whole conversation. If this helped you understand a Social Security rule that many seniors never ask about, tap the like button so more people see this before they accept a smaller check. And share it with someone who is married, divorced, or widowed. They may be living on less than they're entitled to. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. We cover Social Security, Medicare, taxes, and retirement rules in plain English every week. The kind of information that can protect your money when agencies won't volunteer it. Because sometimes the money isn't missing because you failed. Sometimes it's missing because the right document was never brought to the table, and now you know which documents to bring and exactly what question to ask.